Does practicing no contact with your ex make it more likely that she'll come back or less likely? If you look at most other videos out there on YouTube, when I was researching this video, you would have some people saying, yes, do no contact, that's how you get her back. And then there's other people saying, no, you must show your wife unconditional love or your ex. And after working with hundreds of men and helping them get their wives back and their girlfriends after she wanted space and breaking up, I can tell you that your situation is unique, your history is unique, and so is she. And I'm gonna show you through one special factor that you can diagnose within yourself and her to determine the best no contact strategy to get her back. And I'm gonna show you this based on results I've had with clients. Let me share with you one of my marriage mastery clients, Jacob, and his story about getting his wife back. Now, Jacob was married to his wife for 2 years, which I'll revisit in a second why the 2-year mark is so important in relationships. But they were married for 2 years, and then things started to just fall apart. His wife started to have more complaints, she was being more cold and distant, and he didn't understand what was going on. Now, the crazy thing was that when things started to go bad in the relationship, it was actually Jacob's wife who decided to go on a couples retreat, a week-long retreat to fix their marriage, to make things great. And during that time, Jacob said that it was really, really hard, but they dug up a lot of crap together, and he felt closer to her than ever before after this retreat. Now, the crazy thing that made Jacob just feel dismayed, confused, and lost was as soon as they got back, she wanted to end it after all that personal work. Let me tell you why. You see, the one factor that determines whether you should do no contact or not is your wife's and your personal attachment style. Now, if you haven't heard of attachment styles, most people fall into 4 different categories. But the couples I see that I work with, the men fall into one of 2 categories. And most men, 90% of them that join my program, they fall into the anxious type of category. Now, anxious men, when things are going wrong in the relationship and the wife turns cold and distant, she's stubborn. So if your wife falls in that category, she's probably avoidant and you're the anxious one. What happens is that you really need to fix her problem. When there's difficulties, you can't stop thinking about fixing the problem, making her happy again, because you just get so much nervousness and anxiety and fear and all this stuff, fear of abandonment when things are starting to fall apart. So your natural inclination is to try to solve the problem. You may beg, take her on dates, ask her what's wrong, say, let's talk about this. You're going toward her during times of conflict. That's what the anxious style does. As soon as she got back from the retreat and she started to be more distant and said that she wanted to just take space and do no contact, he started freaking out. He said, what about, we just did so much work together. You unearthed so much of your vulnerabilities and so did I. And I poured my heart out and I thought we're closer than ever. What's going on? But the more Jacob tried to use logic to convince his wife's emotions and her attachment style and her avoidant attachment style to come closer to her, it pushed her further away. Because Jacob's wife, like most men, their wives, if they're anxious, their wife is the avoidant style. Now with avoidance, when they're stressed out, they want to take time to themselves. That's because when they grew up, if you think of your wife's or girlfriend's personal history, she probably had to be independent. She probably had to take care of her own needs. Maybe she had a father or a mother that was just neglectful or abusive. And when someone grows up in that environment, what happens is they need to learn how to just take care of themselves. They say to themselves, I cannot rely on anyone else to take care of my needs. So when times of stress occur within a relationship between 2 people, their natural inclination is to take space and go away. You can see how this becomes a problem, where the anxious type, their main fear is being abandoned. So when they're stressed in the relationship, they go toward. But the avoidant type, their main fear is being smothered. So when they're stressed, they take space. And this constant chasing and running occurs. Now at this point, when Jacob was trying to use logic and all of his anxious actions to try to get his wife to see clearly how he felt about her, that's when he came to me. And I said, look, we have to disrupt the cycle. Right now, the more you chase, the more she runs away. You are triggering her deepest insecurity and vulnerability, and she is in you. So what happened was, I told Jacob, first, stop pursuing her. Give her that space, that no contact, because if your wife is avoidant, that's what you must do. And it was the hardest thing for him to do. And for many men in my program, it is the hardest step to actually give your wife space and not continue to talk to her after all these years of history and falling in love and all these things. It's really hard, right? But here's what happened. It was coming up on their 3-year anniversary. And what happened was Jacob wanted to reach out to his wife. And I told him, don't. And ironically enough, she reached out to him and they rekindled their relationship through text messages, and they agreed to go on a date with each other because he stopped the cycle of pursuing her and he gave her space. And in that space, she was able to pursue him. Now, is getting your wife back when she wants no contact or space as simple as just giving her that space and letting her come back to you? Absolutely not. Let me tell you through a simple metaphor. Let's imagine you have this key that resembles you, and this lock is the lock to her heart. And if you're constantly trying to open that lock with that key and it's not working, there's friction involved, and it's hurting both of you. What happens is that you must give her that space, yes, absolutely, but you must reform that key to a different shape. And in that process, I help men uncover the deeper core reasons why their wife started to pull away from yourself. You see, there were specific actions and ways of being and emotions and ways of communicating that Jacob was really doing that was pushing his wife away. So what we did in that space was active work in remodeling. We figured out new ways to communicate, understanding his wife, passing her tests, and everything else I offer in the Marriage Mastery Program. So when his wife did come back, that's how he was able to unlock her heart, by speaking to her in the correct way. Now, if your wife or girlfriend has caused no contact with you, or wanted space, or says it was over, it's not. I've saved hundreds of marriages over the years by using the correct no space contact rule, plus different ways of reforming yourself. Because let me tell you, if you never reshape who you are, no matter what lock you try to open, it'll never work. Because the only thing you have in common with a woman you're with is you. You can get her back, but you must change, because if you don't change, the same relationship is going to go about. So if you want the opportunity to work with me personally and help you learn these strategies to get her back, simply click the link down below right now, set up a free call with me or my marriage evaluators, and what we'll do is we'll assess what attachment style you and your wife have, what things have caused you to be where you're at in your situation with your wife that's caused her to want to move away, why you're not high value enough, reform yourself, and get her back, get the love back that you deserve. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Press like if you like the video as well. Cheers.